there's nothing, or there's very little, let me tell you that. There's very little new in this presentment. They're facts that have been repackaged. Last year I told you all that the perjury charge was a weak case and that it would be almost impossible for the prosecution to prove that charge. Prosecution recognized that, and this year they're asking for a do-over. I maintain that Mr. Curley is innocent, and we will aggressively pursue this case for the next year like we have for the last year.
How do you explain away the emails?
The emails.
When we have our opportunity to be in court, which we thought was going to be sometime early next year, you all have the opportunity to hear about the emails and put them in the context that they need to be put in our case.
Doesn't the free report seem to buttress these new charges?
The free report is really a non-entity for me because it is not going to be introduced in a court of law, and we don't have to respond to the free report.
How's your client's health?
So I think that, I mean, there are so many questions I know that I would love to answer and that you would love to get the answers to, and I regret that we're not going to have a trial early next year. But when we do, you'll be able to hear all of our responses to everything.
Will Tim Curley take the stand? Will Tim Curley testify?
You know, that's a decision that lawyers make all the time in every case, and that decision will be made at the time of trial.
So is the total bond 125? The total bond is 125 now, ma'am?
You know, I know that the bond today said is unsecured at $50,000. Right. It could have been last year, 75 unsecured, but I have so many things in my head about this case that...
Has the trial been postponed officially?
It has not been postponed officially.
When is the preliminary hearing?
The preliminary hearing is tentatively scheduled for the 12th of November.
Any plea talks?
You know, I can't answer any more questions.
How's your
but
client's health?
Thank you.
How is Tim doing?
Okay, I will say
How
one
is Tim
thing,
feeling?
and I always appreciate you all asking about Tim's health, and we thank you for doing that, but that's a personal matter. Thank you all.
Thank you about Cynthia Baldwin.
Thank you.
I got it.
Let me see something here. Excuse me for just 1 minute. The fact that Cynthia Baldwin represented our clients at the grand jury back in 2011 is a new issue that has been raised in the presentment. And I can tell you that when we read the presentment, we were stunned. We were flabbergasted that she would have testified against our clients at I assume, at the grand jury after representing them before the grand jury. We're just as surprised, frankly, that the prosecution would allow her to testify at the grand jury under these circumstances. So I would refer you all, and this is a complicated legal issue, but we I guess it was just yesterday, before we had access to the presentment, we filed a motion to dismiss the charges based upon Cynthia Baldwin's representation of our client and conflict of interest. That motion was filed yesterday before we even knew what we now know in the presentment. So that's an issue that's going to be thoroughly and very aggressively litigated over the next year, and I would refer you all to that motion. And it's too complicated to explain right now under these circumstances, but I refer you to that motion.
She was not supposed to be in that grand jury room at all.
Well, I mean, the question that I think was just posed about her being in the grand jury room that's a question that somebody's going to have to answer at some point once we get into a courtroom and the facts are all before a judge. But thank you. Okay. Thank you so much.
Your name, ma'am?